If you want to go watch that match, and it is a spectacle, it's Great American Bash 2008. We're talking about the match at the Nassau Coliseum, July 20th. It's a New York City parking lot brawl, and it makes me think about SummerSlam 96 with Taker and Mankind, where they did, the Boiler Room brawl, where part of it is pre-taped, just like Piper did with Goldust. Is that hard? I mean, I know you mentioned cold, but it's also hard without the crowd, right? The live crowd bought a ticket to see John Cena, and if they wind up watching a monitor, it's probably not the same experience for them. It does feel like it's more for pay-per-view. This is not exactly cinematic matches, that we experienced during the pandemic, but we were getting as close as we could in that era. Do you think that'll ever make a comeback, or have we realized that's probably not a successful formula?
I don't know. The thing with Piper was really well received. The Boiler Room was really, really well received. So I don't know. The problem is you can't gimmick anything, and without a crowd there, it's not like landing is going to be any harder, but it hurts more. You're just getting beat up, and there's nobody there to know if you're doing the right thing or not by crowd response as far as the drama of it. So you're going to add it in later. So it's a bit of a disconnect because there's nothing to feed off of. You're just going off instinct of, I think this works. I think this works. And so you go forward with it. The Boiler Room match, by the way, something that's been edited out was they told us, guys, don't screw around, because back then everybody screwed around. Everybody said, do not screw around in this thing. You will be fired. So Marty Jannetty had gotten a paper airplane as they went by, flew a paper airplane by. They edited that out later.
Oh, God.
So you see this hardcore match, and all of a sudden behind the background, this paper airplane is flying by.
Yeah, I do want to ask you about that, because we've seen a lot of crazy things in wrestling. And, not too long ago on modern WWE, we saw a guy take a pile driver and he gets stretchered out. I mean, he gets the whole, EMT bit. And then we see other times where it feels like it's a car crash. It's Wile E. Coyote, like what we're seeing here. Is there a disconnect? Do you think less is more? Will we ever get back there, or have the fans now been conditioned? I mean, because it feels like when you go back and you watch some of these spots that are certainly dangerous, and it almost feels like we're watching a cartoon. You hear people laughing and cheering, and the drama isn't there. But then we can see other times just a simple pile driver.
Yep.
And everything's a hushed tone. Like, how do we reconcile that? Are you a fan one way or the other?
Yeah, I'm a fan of this. They asked Jake Roberts one day. I was backstage when the guys were asking him. They were kind of ribbing him. They said, so what's the difference between your DDT and the one everybody else does every single match? And Jake said, mine beat you.
Wow.
And that was it. I think just Johnny Valentine used to say, I can't convince you that the rest of the card is legit. I can convince you I'm legit. And I think that's the difference. I watched Bloodsport this past week with Josh Barnett. It's a really cool, unique concept. Yeah. And they were doing things where a power bomb was a finish. And when they did it, the fans go, oh, and they knew it was a finish. They knew it was a finish. So you'd educated those fans to something different. And I think when you have too much, it's just white noise. I mean, this Speedball Bailey, this kid is freaking awesome. I could watch that kid work all day. But so many of these guys want to go out there and do this stuff. And not talking about Speedball, I'm talking about guys that want to go out there and just create as much movement as possible. As they say, they want to create motion without emotion. And you lose track. I mean, you just do – now all you can do is more moves. But if you have something that works, I mean, John Cena doing the FU still beats people.
Yeah.
And that's not a big dramatic move. Right. But people know it's a finish. So I think, yeah, it can be done.
I mean, the people's elbow beat people.
Right.
I mean, like there's lots of things that can work, but that's part of the deal with wrestling. You sort of agree when you turn it on, you're going to suspend your disbelief. You're going to see some crazy stuff. A guy might summon lightning. You never know. Royal Rumble 2009 is going to be one of your last big time matches against John Cena. It's for the world title. Cena's going to pick up the win. You're going to see that Shawn Michaels is going to be involved here as a special guest referee of sorts at some point, or so it feels, because once he super kicks you, Cena's smiling at him, and then he super kicks Cena. And so now both guys are down. Shawn's the monkey in the middle, and Hey, what do? You get back to your feet. You go to hit the clothesline from hell. Cena ducks it. And he hits what Michael Cole is now calling the patented move. We're no longer calling it the FU because we're back full blown into the PG era. What do you remember of this match and the idea that we're going to have Cena change his names? It can't be the FU, it can't be the STFU. We're going to have to soften it up a little bit for sponsors.
I was thrilled because I never got to work with Sean really. I got to work with Sean, in 95 and 96 a little bit, but not where I was on any level that was close to him. I was just, Justin Hawk Bradshaw getting to work with Sean in a special, one-off match. And I got to work with Sean some later stuff. So having Sean out there, to me, it almost completed my career, getting to work with one of the greatest guys I had so much respect for. So having Sean out there, I had Sean and John Cena out there in the same match. And that to me was, I'm not sure why I came back, but that was worth every bit of it.
Hey, John, after your in-ring stuff is done with John Cena, you kind of become one of the more iconic voices for the rest of his entire career. I mean, you're there at the desk month in, month out, and you can pretty much guarantee every one of those pay-per-views was headlined by John Cena. So you had a better than a front row seat for his entire run. And we've clearly learned just from these past few weeks with you what a wrestling historian you are. And the whole Mount Rushmore discussion is very subjective. But when it comes down to, hey, who were the real needle movers? Who were the cornerstones of WWE? Way back when, it had to include guys like Bruno Sammartino and certainly Hulk Hogan and later Stone Cold Steve Austin. But John Cena, I still don't think is getting his proper flowers. Maybe he will this next year, but it feels like the modern fan maybe didn't appreciate what they had at the time. Did you know how special John was when you're sitting at the desk?
100%. And I'd throw Jim Londos in that as well from the Mount Rushmore topic. 100%. Michael Cole and I used to just be amazed at this guy because we'd see him walk out. And literally, it was nearly half split. Half would be booing him, half would be cheering him. By the time he would finish his promo, they're all cheering him. I saw him do that night after night after night. I saw him go out there when people wanted to hijack the show. John never let anybody hijack the show. I've seen guys go out there in promos and the whole crowd, it's one of those, havens that, filled with a smart crowd, as they call it, and they want to be part of the show or they want to hijack the show. Cena wouldn't let them. It was one of the most amazing things. That guy on the mic is as good as anybody there has ever been. And I don't think anybody in the history of the business could have done what John Cena did following the Attitude Era. And no one, absolutely no one. You can't follow beer drinking, flipping people off, nudity, all the crazy stuff we did in the Attitude Era and come with the G Era after that when people wanted that so badly, which I always thought, and I'm not comparing Jim Ross to Michael Cole, that one of the reasons people love Jim Ross so much, of course, Cole being a heel, they conflated his character a little bit, was that JR was called the Attitude Era. So you sit there and look at it and go, okay, that guy was the one that called him wrestling was cool. Now he got this G-rated era and it's Michael Cole. I always thought that was one of the issues, between the hardcore fans. But Cena, to me, I don't think there's anybody that in live or dead that's wrestled that could have done what Cena did.